We are secure together.
We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land.
Welcome to Secure Together. I'm Isaac Straley, Chief Information Security Officer at the University of Toronto. First, happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and thank you for joining us for our first virtual Information Security Conference. And this conference is a little bit different, both in terms of pace and format, with speakers from across UofT offering short 1 to 2 minute talks grouped around the NIST cybersecurity framework functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. NIST cybersecurity framework provides guidelines for reducing cybersecurity risk, and our aim in referencing it is to offer a structure and a shared language to frame the variety of topics covered here. But let's get to it. I'd like to introduce UofT's Chief Information Officer, Wandschneider.
Hi, my name is Wandschneider. I am the Chief Information Officer at the University of Toronto. Thank you for joining today's events in celebration of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. The Secure Together virtual conference showcases University of Toronto's talent and leadership in the cybersecurity field. The purpose of this event is to highlight the diverse representation of IT at UofT people who think and care about cybersecurity in their daily work, no matter how big or small the focus may be. This is an opportunity for everyone to talk about cybersecurity in an accessible way so we can create a culture where there are learning opportunities on this topic that cultivate best team practices in IT at UofT. I encourage all of you to take in the conference at your leisure and to bring the subject of cybersecurity up with your teams to increase the visibility and importance of this topic in our daily work. Thank you for taking the time to enjoy this virtual connection during an undoubtedly challenging year for all of us, in which we face many new cybersecurity challenges. Taking this time to learn about cybersecurity will help us all stay secure together and advance the conversation around information security.
Hi, my name is Zahra Bhanji. I'm Director in the Office of the Vice Principal Academic and Dean at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. The Identify function is the first pillar of NIST's cybersecurity framework. The framework covers asset management, the business environment, governance, risk assessments, risk management strategy, and supply chain risk management. Some business outcomes for the Identify function include an improved understanding of your organization's role in supply chains or as critical infrastructure, and establishing programs based on your organization's cybersecurity policies and regulatory requirements. The purpose of the Identify function is to help your organization develop a better understanding of cybersecurity risks as they relate to your systems, capabilities, business objectives, physical and digital assets, and data.
Hi, my name is Ashley Langille, and I'm the Information Privacy Analyst within Information Security at ITS for the University of Toronto. I'm here to talk to you about data classification and why it's important to understand your organization's data classification categories. In terms of cybersecurity, data is classified in order to label the importance and sensitivity of any particular data point. The levels of classification usually vary from 3 to 5 and serve as a guide for those working with data to understand how to handle it in accordance with their organizational procedures, policies, and any legal obligations. Most commonly, data classified as level 1 would be considered public data. As the level increases, the data is more sensitive, and therefore should be protected using more robust measures. These include restricting access, regular audits, and security monitoring. For example, my work phone would be classified as level 1. It's publicly available through a phone directory on the university's website. My credit card information would be classified at the highest level, as it's the type of information that needs to be closely guarded to minimize the potential fraud or any inappropriate use. The same level of classification would apply to health information. The exposure of non-public data varies, and therefore it's important to be prudent and implement the right protective measures to mitigate the risks of exposure. Finally, specific laws call for specific mitigation measures, such as the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Take the time to become familiar with the available data classification information for your organization. If you're unsure about something, never hesitate to ask your privacy and information security experts.
Hello, my name is Deyves Fonseca. I am the Associate Director of Information Security Operations for the University of Toronto. Today, we're going to be talking about what should I consider when choosing between cloud versus on-prem solution. The fundamental difference between cloud and on-prem solution is where data is stored and accessed locally on the service of the organization or hosted on the vendor servers, known as cloud service providers. The most popular service models of cloud computing are software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, most of which you can choose whether to set up in a public or private options, known as a public cloud, private cloud, or a combination of both worlds, the hybrid cloud. The benefits, or the main benefits of cloud computing include increased efficiency in operations and management, better support and access for a distributed workforce, reduced costs, greater elasticity of resources. When choosing between cloud versus on-prem solutions, here are a few questions you should explore. What are your constraints in terms of compliance and regulations? How sensitive is the data that will be stored, and what security capabilities can you leverage from the vendors to protect this data? It's important to note that the vendor is responsible for the security of the cloud. The customer is accountable for the security of the cloud. How important is to quickly expand and contract computing resources? If the use of computing resources does not change much over time, maybe cloud is not the right solution for you. And finally, what is the pricing model? And do you have an exit strategy? You may be surprised that some solutions are very expensive to maintain and to leave. So before choosing between cloud and on-prem solutions, make sure to ask those questions. And as a final note, if you are choosing cloud as a strategic direction for your organization, it will not solve all your computing problems magically. Remember, it's still your responsibility to take privacy and security into consideration.
Hi, my name is Elias Karamitsos, and I am the Service Delivery Lead with IITS at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the CIA triad, which refers to the three goals of cybersecurity, namely to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information systems and data. This is a guiding framework for information security goals, so let's break it down. The first goal, confidentiality, refers to keeping sensitive information private, and this is especially important in the digital world. The goals of cyber criminals are to remain undetected for as long as possible. So that's why encrypting sensitive data is important, as it helps prevent such data from being exposed during a cyber attack event. The second goal, integrity, refers to keeping systems or data in the intended state and preventing unauthorized or unintentional alterations to that data. Malicious alterations compromise the integrity of data required for regulatory requirements such as financial reporting. The third and final goal, availability, refers to the ability of authorized persons to access the systems and data they require to undertake their duties. Attacks such as ransomware can affect the availability of systems and data. Keeping the CIA triad in mind helps leadership and teams understand what is critical to operations from the perspective of both systems and data. It's important that you create processes and best practices that align with the principles of confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Hi everybody, everybody. My name's Elizabeth Parke. I am the Senior Research Associate for Collaborative Digital Research at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Today I'm joining you from land that is part of Treaty 13 on the eastern edge of Toronto. I want to talk today about data sovereignty, which broadly speaking is the relationship between where your data is and the laws and jurisdiction under which it is controlled. More broadly speaking, we can think about how data sovereignty is related to the communities that we do research in, what we owe them to keep track of, what we owe communities to give back to, when it makes sense to make data open, and when it makes sense to make data closed and protected. So data sovereignty matters to us as researchers because we can think about the tools that we use in order to store data, transmit data, and keep data long term. So knowing where your data is stored is important, and it's crucial to understand the laws and the jurisdiction under which it's held. Make sure that you can get in touch with us at the collaborative space at CDRS. CDRS is our acronym. You can also talk to the wonderful people like Selena and Tamara who have made this conference possible. Use the tools that make the most sense for your projects. Keep in mind data sovereignty is about the protocols, the relationships, and the ethics that control the data that you make, store, research, and interpret. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Joe Bate. I'm the Manager of Security Architecture and Visibility with Information Security in Information Technology Services at the University of Toronto. Information security is not a set of isolated technologies or controls, nor is it a compliance checklist. It can't be an afterthought or a one-time action, and it's not solely focused on prevention. Information security is a continuously evolving ecosystem of security countermeasures to help anticipate and identify emerging threats and risks, protect against known threats, monitor and detect when protections are not effective, understand how to respond when there is an incident, and how to recover when the incident has been resolved. So what is security architecture? Security architecture describes how security controls are positioned and how they relate to the overall IT architecture. The purpose of the controls are to maintain the system's quality, such as confidentiality, integrity, availability, accountability, and assurance. So, where do you start? Well, you can't adequately protect what you don't know you have. Develop an understanding of your environment, including the digital and physical assets, capabilities, interconnections, defined roles and responsibilities, and an understanding of the risks and exposures so that you can develop practices and procedures to mitigate those risks. You should include the university information security standards as non-functional requirements in your projects, whether it's a net new deployment or planning of changes to an existing system or service. Security is everybody's responsibility. It should be embedded into the people, processes, and technologies, continuously tested and improved.
Hi, my name is Kelly Carmichael, and I'm a coordinator in the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Office at the University of Toronto. Across Canada and in various parts of the world, health information is protected by law. In Ontario, health information custodians are subject to the Personal Health Information Protection Act, also known as PHIPA. At the University of Toronto, examples of health information custodians include student health and wellness services and clinics across campus that provide healthcare. Some of the key goals of PHIPA include establishing rules for the collection, use, and disclosure of personal health information in the course of providing healthcare, establishing rules and requirements for the use of electronic health records and electronic health service providers, providing individuals with the right to access and to request correction to their own personal health information, and establishing independent oversight of PHIPA compliance by the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario. PHIPA sets out specific technical requirements for systems that manage personal health information. All new technology that will store personal health information must be assessed for PHIPA compliance. Health professionals must take great care in ensuring that personal health information is always handled in the most secure and privacy-protective manner. The purpose of PHIPA and similar legislation in other jurisdictions is to ensure that personal health information is protected and to provide patients with access and ownership to their own personal health data.
Hi, my name is Rishi Arora. I'm the Business Process and Information Technology Analyst with ITS at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. A business analyst and a project manager are your dream team when it comes to delivering new projects that involve business processes and new technology. The role of a business analyst is to understand the entire business cycle, and a project manager's role is to ensure the right people are at the table with the appropriate decision-making authority, and that project implementation is completed in the right sequence. Together, BAs and project managers help you ask the right questions, assess the risks, and understand the impact associated with the project decisions. Think of these two roles as your mountain trek guides. It's your objective to ascend the mountain or the project, and it is their goal to get you there in the most efficient and effective way. When working with BAs and PMs, it may feel that you're encountering a laundry list of questions, but remember that this is a good thing. We are seeking to uncover all the details so we can help you find the best solution and the way forward. This includes the security of both the process and the technology you're thinking of implementing. Leveraging the skills of BAs and PMs in the organization is important. They can be both hands-on support for your project or key advisors that you can trust. They know the environment you are working within and will provide you a path forward. Avoid having to put your project on hold at the point of signing a contract because a critical information security or privacy element was missed. Seek advice early and often from your local business analysts and project managers when taking on new projects. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rouben Tchakhmakhtchian, and I am the Information Risk Program Coordinator in the Information Security Department at the University of Toronto. Today I'm going to talk about information risk assessment. Information risk refers to risks to our information assets, which are the data that supports the achievement of our objectives and the systems involved in the life cycle of that data. Note, not all information systems are necessarily electronic. You can have a paper file-based information system, for example. So, information risk is some function of the likelihood that a threat exploiting a vulnerability will cause an impact to our assets. Don't overthink this formula too much. This is a convenient model you can use to reflect on risk. There are threats, there are vulnerabilities, there are impacts and likelihoods. Any combination of these that increases or decreases will also increase or decrease your risk. Another model we use is to think about impacts to the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of our data. There is a risk if there is a likelihood of a negative effect on any combination of these. So, putting it all together, an information risk assessment involves measuring the likelihood of negative effects on the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of our information assets due to the realization of a threat exploiting a vulnerability. Remember, these are models rather than strict categories, but they are a good starting point to help you in understanding the risks to your information.
My name is Selena Panchu, and I'm an Information Security Analyst at the University of Toronto, Mississauga campus. The NIST Cybersecurity Framework provides a set of freely available standards, guidelines, and practices to help organizations manage cybersecurity risk. It was launched in 2014 by the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, also known as NIST, and it was created in collaboration with industry and government. There are three main components to the NIST Cybersecurity Framework: the Framework Core, Framework Implementation Tiers, and Framework Profile. The core consists of 5 functions to help manage risk. These include the identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover functions. In other words, identify risks, put protections in place to mitigate those risks, implement mechanisms to detect potential issues, respond to any incidents that may arise, and follow up with additional recovery activities if necessary. The second component, Implementation Tiers, describes how closely an organization's risk management practices align with the framework, And the third component, framework profile, can be used to determine next steps by comparing an organization's current state to a future target state. The NIST cybersecurity framework is used to manage cybersecurity risk worldwide and can be applied to any organization, whether it's a large institution, a small business, or even a department, to improve risk management processes and reduce cybersecurity risk.
Hi, my name is Tamara Bear, and I am Manager for Teaching, Learning, and Technology at the Center for Teaching Support and Innovation at the University of Toronto.
Hi, I'm Simone Lawton. I'm Head of UTM Library and Instructional Technologies at University of Toronto, Mississauga. And we're focusing on using third-party tools to support student learning.
A third-party tool is a technology tool or application being considered for use to support teaching and learning, and there is no contract between the university and the tool provider.
Many instructors explore and apply innovative and new technologies in their courses to support student learning. We sometimes get questions about how they can do this in a way that is secure and ensures student privacy. To mitigate potential student data privacy and security risks, consider implementing the following measures. Use third-party tools for engagement or for low-stakes assessments.
Include information in the syllabus about what tools you are using, why you are using them, and how students can use the tools in a way that protects their data privacy and security. And provide students with an alternative if they prefer not to use a third-party tool. Review privacy and security provisions that the third-party software may have noted in their documentation, and examine their terms and conditions.
Other items to consider include accessibility, equity and diversity, intellectual property, additional supports that might be needed for students, and how the tool can be integrated into the tech ecosystem or infrastructure.
Finally, consult with tech support staff and know what to do if there is a breach, who to contact, and the information that would need to be provided.
Hi, my name is Shahid Zafar. I'm a staff sergeant with the campus police at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. I'm here to talk to you about the clean desk policy and open office spaces. With campuses being built with more open and collaborative spaces and more people working remotely, it's important to keep the following in mind. Keeping your desk clean. Put away any files that may contain confidential data in a locked cabinet. Your desk should always be clear of any documents, USBs, or hard drives. They belong behind a locked door or secured within a cabinet when you are not present. When you're working remotely or in public, remain vigilant and do not leave your devices and documents unattended. Protect your private information by avoiding public Wi-Fi connections and concealing your screen from those pesky shoulder surfers. Carrying data on USBs and mobile devices. Follow the security requirements for confidential information, and all information that is not officially designated as public is considered confidential, including information about identifiable individuals, student records, grades, HR records, and non-public financial information. The police are increasingly relying on environmental design with clear sightlines into spaces to help with crime prevention and to maintain public safety. But this also means that others might be able to see into your workspace a little more easily. Be aware of your surroundings when dealing with confidential and sensitive data, and follow the best practices to keep your data safe.
Hi, my name is Zoran Pilevich. I am the Director of Information and Instructional Technology Services for the University of Toronto Scarborough campus. I'm here today to talk about the Protect function, which is the second pillar at the core of NIST's cybersecurity framework. Goals of this function fall under the following categories: identity management and access control, awareness and training, data security, information protection processes and procedures, maintenance, and protective technology. Some of the potential outcomes of the Protect function include improving physical and remote access protections for your organization's systems, developing cybersecurity-wide awareness campaigns and training for your organization and third-party stakeholders, implementing data security protections that are aligned with the organization's risk management strategy, safeguarding information systems as well as digital and physical assets through information protection processes and procedures, repair and maintenance of organizational assets, and managing audit logs, policies, system configurations, and other security mechanisms. The aim of the protect function is to help your organization establish safeguards, including policies, procedures, and agreements, to contain and reduce the impact of potential cybersecurity incidents, allowing your organization to continue delivering services uninterrupted.
Hi, my name is Andrew Egan. I'm the manager of web and digital media with IITS at the University of Toronto Scarborough. I'm here to talk to you about best practices when using web forms to collect information. Web forms can be a very handy tool. They make it easy to collect required information for things such as registrations, requests, or surveys. The most important first step is to clearly state on the form why you are asking for the information and what that information will be used for and how. Most websites make this information available in a website privacy policy, but some also place it directly on the form for easy reference, especially when the website may have multiple forms. Taking a moment to think about the purpose of collection also gives you an opportunity to be critical of what data you actually need, versus what is nice to have or perhaps may not be needed at all. This process helps you reduce the amount of data in your possession. Generally speaking, if you intend to collect personally identifiable information, such as dates of birth coupled with first and last name, you should take a pause and consult with your information security and web experts. This is important as not all websites are equally secure. You could seek advice on more secure ways to collect sensitive information, how to treat that data after collection, and eventually how to delete it when it's no longer required. When in need of a web form, review all available options in the organization and choose the most appropriate web form for the type of data you need. Remember that when you are collecting data via a web form, people who are inputting the information trust that you will use it and protect it properly. By collecting data, you become the steward of that data and should put appropriate processes in place to protect it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ab Jihani. I'm the Manager of Client Services at IITS, the University of Toronto Scarborough. Just as we care about device security while they are in use, we also need to take appropriate steps to protect the data that resided on them upon their disposal. When the time comes to swap out or upgrade your devices or servers, it is important to properly wipe the data and in some cases physically destroy the devices or hard drives to prevent thieves from gaining access to private information stored on them. For example, before retiring your old phone or tablet, always transfer the contents to another device or drive, and then perform a factory reset to destroy the data. If absolute assurance is needed, physical device shredding is an option. The same goes for desktops and multifunction devices with traditional hard disk drives, where proper data removal is required before disposal. Hard disk drives can be brought to help desks or service desks for them to be physically destroyed by a specialized tool. This tool is called a hard disk or hard drive degausser. It renders the drive data unrecoverable. Multifunction printers store scanned images of confidential documents in their local disk storage. At the end of their lease, vendors can secure wipe the data or physically destroy the hard disk and provide you with certificate for a nominal fee. In conclusion, an average person can have as many as 8 devices that all have data on them. Remember that if you are using some of them, clear them properly to protect your information in case they are lost or stolen. Pick a day to review what you have around your office or home and consider having a technology cleaning day. You will feel much better knowing your data is secure. Thank you.
Hi,
My name is Brett Lavoie. I'm the Client and Application Services Lead for the School of Continuing Studies at the University of Toronto. I'm here today to talk to you about multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA for short, is a system that uses 2 or more distinct identifiers to verify your identity and allow access to a resource. There are typically 3 types of factors. 1, something you know. 2, something you have. And 3, something you are. Some people consider somewhere you are, or location, to be a 4th factor. Everyone is familiar with something you know. Examples include passwords, the street you grew up on, your mother's maiden name, and so on. Something you have might be a phone, a hardware token like this, or an e-token like this. They are something you carry around with you that was specifically assigned to you to prove that you are you. Something you are could be your fingerprints or your face. If online services offer the option to use MFA, you should always opt into it. MFA helps protect you from hackers by making it significantly harder for them to impersonate you. In fact, you are probably already using MFA. For example, when you log into your bank or other service and they send you a code via text message. Multi-factor authentication is an easy way to increase your account security and protect your information.
Hello, my name is Carvill Lo. I'm the Manager of Security Systems and Services with Campus Safety and Security at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. In case you can't decipher what my role is based on my title, I am responsible for the physical security systems, fire prevention systems, and parking services at UTSC. As our lives are becoming more dependent on technology, so do the buildings that we live and work in. All of the systems and services that I manage all rely on an IT infrastructure. Building infrastructure is evolving from classic bricks and mortar projects to more advanced construction that includes building automation systems, electronically secured spaces, and other technologically advanced features. Cybersecurity is an important consideration for anyone working in capital projects, design and construction, or campus security, as all of our buildings are now digital. For example, access control for buildings utilizes the university network and stores data on university servers. Our fire protection systems are completely networked and can be remotely accessed and controlled. The parking equipment infrastructure is fully networked and includes a database of private and confidential information. Implementing, maintaining, and managing building infrastructure systems is no longer just about physical operations. The cybersecurity of the network and the server on which the data is stored must be given serious consideration and priority. For example, network security cameras all come with the default password. And on the internet, you can find many websites that display the video feed of network security cameras that have not changed their default passwords and are not behind a firewall. My final thought, cybersecurity breaches can have a catastrophic impact on the physical security of your organization. It is essential to apply the same best practices that you use for digital assets to the physical systems in your environment. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaveh Shahrooz, and I'm the Legal Counsel and Director of Partnerships at UTM. When I'm not busy at work, much of my free time is spent on activism, working for human rights around the world, and in particular in my country of birth, Iran. Unfortunately, my activism makes me a frequent target of cyber attacks by state-backed hackers. The most recent episode was when I received an invitation on an instant messaging app called Telegram to participate in a human rights conference purportedly put on by Deutsche Welle, the German broadcaster. I get invited to these events periodically, so I didn't think much of it at the time. But what was strange about this was that the producer insisted that I sign up for the conference via a link sent to me by email. And when I clicked on the link, the website asked for my Gmail password and other personal information. Thankfully, I was sufficiently alert not to provide this information to them. And I'm really relieved about that, since a few weeks later, I saw it reported on the news that this was a phishing scam launched by Iranian government hackers, and it was directed at some dissidents. All to say that there are significant cybersecurity risks out there. If something looks strange to you, you should trust your instincts and speak to your IT team. Be sure to stay alert.
Hi, my name is Kirsta Stapelfeldt. I am a librarian and the coordinator of the Digital Scholarship Unit at the University of Toronto Scarborough Library. The unique collections of our libraries are increasingly born digital. Born digital content is like the images you take of your family and the texts and emails you write. It never has a physical life and needs to be cared for in a different way than the documents of the past. In the library, we use replication and fixity checking to respond to and resolve issues with files in our digital archives. Replication is just what it sounds like. The library makes copies of all of our digital data and we keep them in multiple locations. When we add a file to our collections, we run a small program that records key information related to the integrity of the file. These checksums are like a snapshot of the file that we can compare over time to detect whether or not a file has become corrupted. The library also changes digital formats to keep content readable as technology evolves. If a physical document is left alone in a cold, dry place, it might last a long time, but the same is not true for digital data. Preventing bit rot and data degradation requires regular maintenance, care, and some kind of monitoring. Digital files get corrupted. Application-specific file formats become obsolete. External hard drives die, and if you leave that file for a decade, you probably won't be able to open it again. So make lots of copies. Keep them in different places. Open your files regularly and go talk to librarians if you want to learn more about how to keep your files usable now and into the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Prisca Obierefu, and I'm the Research Technology Liaison with the Center for Research and Innovation Support at the University of Toronto. When conducting research and you need to safeguard your research data, you can use these 6 cybersecurity controls for researchers. Number 1, train your research team. You can ask for specific cybersecurity training from your university, or you can have dedicated meetings focused on cybersecurity topics and best practices as they relate to your research. Number 2, use multi-factor authentication, MFA. Whenever you have the option to use MFA, always opt in. This service provides you with an extra layer of protection for your research data. Number 3, install secure software and tools. If you are managing your own technology, ensure that you have the appropriate security software and tools such as antivirus and firewalls. These are important as they serve as the first line of defense for your research data. Number 4, update and patch your devices and software. Keep your system up to date and apply the necessary patches to close every security gaps. Consult with your local IT if you require additional support in this area. Number 5, implement clear access controls to your physical and digital spaces. Take some time to think about who needs to have access to what. Then, base your access controls on security groups. Not everyone required to have access to everything. Have a regular review cycle for your access control and try to tie this to other calendar events such as onboarding and offboarding processes so as to make it easy to incorporate this into your work. Number 6, back up your data. Backing up your data ensures that you can recover and preserve your work in an event you experience a breach or system failure. In summary, cybersecurity is an important issue to take into consideration when conducting research. Therefore, endeavor to follow these controls in order to safeguard your research data. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Raphaelle Gauriau. I'm the Information System Security Manager with CyNet at the University of Toronto. A virtual private network, or VPN, creates an encrypted connection between your device and the internet. It also provides online privacy and anonymity by creating a private network from a public internet connection. The VPN masks your IP address, making your online action much harder to trace. 2 main cybersecurity risks can be reduced by using a VPN. One is privacy risk, as the VPN provides anonymity. Second is the risk of someone eavesdropping on your communication, especially when browsing via public Wi-Fi networks. The VPN makes it much harder for anyone other than you and your VPN provider to see your activity. However, be aware that the VPN will not protect you against all cybersecurity attacks. For example, you'll still need antivirus software on your devices to protect against malware. If you're concerned about your privacy or use public Wi-Fi networks, it's time to leverage the VPN. There are a variety of reputable VPNs on the market, including antivirus vendors that even have VPN offers integrated with their services. Just make sure to do some research, including reading the terms of service and privacy policy to ensure that the VPN service you select meets your needs.
Welcome. My name is Ravneet Kaur. I'm the manager of the Project Management Office at IITS at University of Toronto Scarborough and here to talk to you about FIPPA. FIPPA stands for Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. There are 3 key access and privacy principles you should know about. First, create excellent professional records. Records are needed for work and to demonstrate due diligence. Be sure to only collect personal information necessary for established university functions. Most records are releasable under the Freedom of Information. Second, share personal information for safety and work. Emergency health and safety trump privacy. Personal information can also be shared for the purposes collected within the university on a need-to-know basis with the consent of the individual to whom it's related. Third, protect personal information from creation to destruction. Get help of your IT to encrypt data that contains personal and confidential information and resides outside secure university servers. Lock up all hard copies of personal information. And at the end of their life cycle, securely destroy personal and confidential information, including electronic records. Notify immediately if you suspect a privacy problem to ensure quick and effective response. At UofT, we all have the responsibility for upholding the 3 key access and privacy principles. Apply these best practices to your everyday work. This information is available to you from the FIPPA office at University of Toronto. To learn more, search for the UofT Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Office. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rouben Tchakhmakhtchian, and I'm the manager of IT services in the Department of Chemistry at the University of Toronto. I am here to talk about how to spot a phishing email. A phish is an attempt to convince us to share personal, financial, or other sensitive information. This information could be used to make unauthorized purchases on your behalf, to steal intellectual property, and even identity theft. Phishing is usually attempted by email, but could also include phone calls, text messages, and websites. The scammer's goal is to get a response from their targets by using a variety of tactics, including urgency, so that you don't have time to think clearly, various intimidation and pressure tactics, as well as masquerading as someone you know to gain your trust. Let's take a closer look at a phishing email. This one appears to be from the Bank of Montreal, or BMO. However, the sender's email address is from Australia. Furthermore, the link at the bottom of the email clearly has no relation to the bank, and overall, the formatting of the email looks a bit strange. You can become more adept at identifying phishing emails by simply taking time to review them carefully and err on the side of caution. When in doubt, it's best to check with the sender by contacting them directly, for example by calling or texting them instead of responding to a suspicious email. Phishing attacks can be quite sophisticated and difficult to detect. Anyone can fall for one. I encourage you to try Google's free phishing quiz featuring real phishing emails in order to hone your detective skills. Thanks very much for watching this video.
Hello, my name is Sandra Ngan. I'm the Assistant Registrar of Student Communications at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. When we go online, we all create a digital footprint, and understanding the trail that we leave behind is an important way to learn how to both manage our information and mitigate risk in the event of a breach. A digital footprint is simply your online presence. It's your social media activity, the content that you share or has been shared about you. Take a moment to Google yourself and see what comes up. What does your digital footprint say about you, and how would you like to present your personal and professional identity online? A good rule of thumb is to keep them consistent or separate them if necessary. It's a good habit and practice to review your privacy and account settings and delete anything that you're no longer using. Consider which applications and websites are using geolocation to pinpoint where you are, and to protect your accounts, opt into multi-factor authentication, and of course, update your passwords wherever necessary. Online services are designed to be convenient and efficient, but it's up to us to use them wisely and safely. So the next time you're online seeking services from the university, such as UTM's Ask Registrar, take a moment to verify that you're on the right platform before providing your personal information. And remember, if you're filling out a form to seek services for support, only provide the information that is required. My call to action for you is to maintain your digital presence and invest in a personal online brand that you can be proud of.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Rivera. I'm the Manager of Physical Security at University of Toronto, Mississauga. And today I'm going to discuss physical security that supports the protection of data. A data breach can occur through many digital forms, such as malware, stolen passwords, or laptop theft. However, breaches also occur due to lack of physical security controls in and around your data centers. The most basic way for a data breach to occur is through unauthorized access to a server room that stores organizational enterprise data. Threat agents can install remote access devices or download malware directly onto a server for malicious use that can compromise data and go completely unnoticed if unauthorized access is granted. Another way for a data breach to occur is to physically steal the actual server and remove it from the site, leading to loss of data. Some of the most common data center protection methods include implementation of entry protection systems that have audit trails along with video surveillance, as well as physical security considerations like multi-factor authentication at the door, as well as door hardware sensors that provide alerts when a data breach occurs. Even with the increase of data being stored in the cloud, there's always going to be a need for physical security on site to secure mission-critical infrastructure. Maintaining partnerships with your physical security experts can assist in strengthening your physical security posture with respect to protection of data. Thank you.
I'm Tamara Jacobs, and I'm a Senior Business Analyst with the Project Management Office at IITS at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. A cybersecurity incident response process has two components, proactive and reactive. Cybersecurity education and awareness programs are a proactive component of cybersecurity incident response. So why should we take the time and effort to invest in these programs? Most of all, the cybersecurity education and awareness programs help us reduce the chance of a cyber attack, but they also help us become more resilient in the event of a breach. The programs can come in various formats. They can be for general audiences, or they can be more deep dives into policies, technical reviews, and security controls. Some say that people are the weakest link in a cybersecurity program, but the training can help in establishing a culture of effective controls at the individual levels. You don't have to be technically savvy to participate in cybersecurity training. Actually, you're participating right now by being part of the Secure Together conference. The skills you gain through the curated education programs can translate to be helpful in all situations where you need to protect data, may it be at home or at work. And lastly, as a team, you should aim to have annual training. This will help you stay in tune with current threats, and it will also help you familiarize with the information security resources you have available at the organization and how to navigate when you come into an issue.
Hi, my name is Tanya Shattuck. I'm an Office 365 Administration and Security Manager at Easy with ITS at the University of Toronto. Creating a strong password may seem like a chore, but if you invest the time, it can make a big difference in protecting your account and personal information. The following practices should be used when creating a password. Length. Aim for at least 10 characters. The more characters you have, the harder it is to crack. Complexity. Strong passwords have a combination of upper and lowercase characters, symbols, and numbers. Phrases. Using a passphrase over a password will give you maximum security for your account. But make sure the passphrase you choose is easy to remember and complex. Pick a line from your favorite song or quotation, but preferably not a common one that can be easily guessed by someone who knows you. Avoid these common mistakes when choosing a password. Don't use your personal information such as name, the names of your partner or children, pets, birthdays, phone numbers, or addresses. Avoid easily guessed passwords such as password 123, COVID-19, UToronto 2020, full 2020, etc. Don't use the same password across several accounts, and don't share your password with anyone. To add an additional layer of security, opt in to use multi-factor authentication or passwordless sign-in where available. To sum it up, use long and complex passwords that are unique to each account. You can use Password Manager application to help you generate secure passwords and remember them.
Hi, my name is Vinita Haroun. I'm the Director of the Center for Research and Innovation Support at the University of Toronto. Academic freedom, collaboration, inclusion, and open access are key features that support the advancement of discoveries and enable the benefits of research to be shared with society. However, the excellence of Canadian research can make it an attractive target for exploitation and inappropriate use. Some unintended consequences could include loss of research work products and data, loss of intellectual property rights and commercialization opportunities, damage to partnerships, administrative consequences, and even a tarnished reputation. This is why it's so important to take reasonable measures to safeguard your research, considering cybersecurity, verification of professional histories from collaborators, and assessing the geopolitical and economic context. By equipping yourself to take advantage of collaborative research opportunities while managing risks, Canada's research ecosystem will thrive.
Hi, my name is Luke Barber. I'm the Director of Information and Instructional Technology Services at the University of Toronto's Mississauga campus. The DETECT function is the third pillar of NIST's cybersecurity framework. Its focus, as defined by NIST, includes anomalies and events, security continuous monitoring, and detection processes. Outcomes of this function include 1. The ability to quickly detect and determine the potential impact of unusual activities, including collecting, correlating, and analyzing security event data from multiple sources, establishing baselines for network operations and data flows, and setting incident alert thresholds. 2. Monitoring. This includes monitoring your organization's network, physical environment, and external services, checking for malicious and unauthorized code, and doing vulnerability scans. And 3. regularly testing and performing maintenance on detection systems, including testing, improving, and ensuring detection processes are in compliance with your organization's cybersecurity program, and making sure detected cybersecurity events are communicated to the right groups. The goal of the detect function is to help your organization identify, detect, and evaluate the impact of cybersecurity incidents in a timely manner.
My name is Andrew Wagner. I'm an incident response architect with information security at the University of Toronto. For many organizations, security information and event management systems, or SIEMs, play a key role in incident response, helping information security teams detect suspicious activity and meet cybersecurity-related compliance requirements. SIEMs do a few things. The first is to collect and parse event logs from many different systems and devices, and then normalize the fields in those events. Events can come from almost anything that creates a log. These include security or network devices, operating systems, or applications, to name a few. Many will also ingest vulnerability scan information, threat feeds, or other intelligence sources. Rules or use cases are created to correlate all this data and alert on possibly malicious activity that matches these rules. Some SIEMs are also starting to use machine learning to identify anomalous activity that might not be picked up by the older style rules. To sum it up, SIEMs centralize, normalize, analyze, and audit large amounts of event data from many sources to create alerts that help your information security team track and respond to cyber attacks against your organization.
Hi, my name is Brittani Holder. I'm a security incident response analyst with information security at the University of Toronto. Threat hunting is the process of proactively looking for and counteracting threats or human adversaries that have managed to slip past traditional prevention and detection measures like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, as well as security information and event management systems, and have gained access to your organization's network. There are a variety of ways to approach threat hunting. Here are the basics. First, formulate a hypothesis. Have you noticed anything unusual recently? Consider what your attacker's goals might be and where they may be hiding in your network. Start from the assumption that your systems have already been breached. Second, look for evidence. Use logs, memory dumps, system events, alerts, flow records, photos, written notes, machine learning tools, data visualizations, pretty much any information that can be used to evaluate your hypothesis. Third, automate. After collecting your evidence, determine what parts of the process can be improved upon and automated for future threat hunting. Threat hunting is the process of proactively looking for intruders under the assumption that they are already there within your network. As a result, you might end up uncovering other misconfigurations or potential vulnerabilities than malicious actors. But that's okay, because this helps to close gaps, reducing the attack surface available to cyber attackers.
Hi, my name is Jenny Hu, the Senior ServiceNow Developer at the University of Toronto Mississauga campus. Cliff Thompson, the author of Coders, once said, "Don't underestimate the power of coders." Malicious software is one of the top cybersecurity threats. As a developer, how can we use that power wisely and together with our colleagues help secure the crafts we built? There are many web security vulnerability scanners on the market, yet not all vulnerabilities can be detected by an automated tool. There's also false positive. Having a hybrid approach to code inspection is the key here, and this is where code review comes in. Here are 3 important actions you can add to your code review process. First, check for logic errors in your access control and secure your API endpoints. Second, log user actions. Do you have sufficient audit trail for data modification, data deletion, and data export? Lastly, review your code periodically as security and data classification requirements change. Code review is an important step for improving application security, not to mention many other benefits. Thank you.
Hi, my name is
Kathleen McLeod, and I am a Services Engagement Coordinator with Information Technology Services at the University of Toronto. Today, I will answer the question, what are advanced persistent threats? So advanced persistent threats, or APTs, are long-term, carefully crafted cyber attacks carried out by groups of cyber criminals that are well-funded and often backed by nation-states. These cyber attacks target specific organizations with the intent of gaining access to systems housing sensitive information over an extended period of time, sometimes months or years. These attacks can serve a variety of purposes, including stealing information or intellectual property, causing disruptions, financial gain, and hacktivism. Advanced persistent threats are hard to detect and easily bypass traditional IT protections. The amount of time, expertise, and resources that go into APTs should not be underestimated. However, there are some tells that your organization may be under attack. Some of these could include targeted spear phishing scams, repeated logins at unusual times by accounts belonging to individuals in key roles, discovering widespread Trojans or malware, indications that large amounts of data are being moved between servers or computers, and unexpected compressed bundles of data with unusual file extensions. So to summarize, advanced persistent threats are sophisticated cyber attacks that are carried out over an extended period of time. These attacks, conducted by well-funded cyber criminal groups, are often backed by nation-states and, if unchecked, can go undetected for months or years.
Hi, my name is Ralph Fawaz. I'm the Service Desk Coordinator for Information and Instructional Technology Services at the University of Toronto, Mississauga campus. Endpoint detection and response, or EDR, can be defined as technology that helps IT teams monitor, analyze, and detect suspicious activity in real time on organization-owned or managed devices. Unlike antivirus software, which only scans, detects, and removes malware, or security information and event management systems, which ingest logs, alerts, and threat intelligence data from a variety of sources to detect unusual behavior, EDR is focused primarily on tracking and analyzing threats against user endpoints like laptops, desktops, and phones. With EDR, an agent is installed on user devices to track network events and other operations, recording them on the endpoint itself and/or to a central system where the information is automatically analyzed and checked for indicators of compromise or attack, sending alerts whenever suspicious activity is detected. Endpoint detection and response allows IT staff to detect, analyze, and track unusual behavior on user devices in real time, allowing IT to respond to and remediate threats more quickly.
Hi, my name is Sarosh Jamal, and I'm proud to be a DevOps administrator with Information Technology Services at the University of Toronto. As software becomes increasingly complex, it has become exponentially difficult to mitigate security issues, especially for large, fast-moving projects with tight timelines and budgets. This often leaves little leeway to deal with unwieldy information security policies. Enter DevSecOps, a portmanteau that combines development, security, and operations. Similar to its forerunner called DevOps, DevSecOps ensures the building of continuous integration and deployment pipelines. Continuous integration in the sense where a developer's changes are merged back into the code branch, and often. Continuous deployment is a practice which automates the release process for sharing those very changes with clients. DevSecOps also introduces additional automated testing concepts, including but not limited to SAST, static application security testing, which helps analyze code and imported libraries for vulnerabilities, and DAST building on top of that, dynamic application security testing, which analyzes software for vulnerabilities while it runs. The real aim for DevSecOps is to integrate security into every stage of the software development lifecycle through what we call in DevOps a shift-left mentality, and also by encouraging and promoting a test-driven development culture. DevSecOps really introduces an automated security testing practice throughout the software development process.
Hi, my name is Haley Fuller, and I'm the Director of Strategic Communications and Change for the Division of Human Resources and Equity at the University of Toronto. The respond function is the fourth pillar of the NIST cybersecurity framework. The goals of this function can be divided into the following categories: response planning, communications, analysis, mitigation, and improvements. Outcomes of the respond function include executing response plans during and after a cybersecurity incident, coordinating communications with internal and external stakeholders, analyzing the impact of the incident, containing the incident, and making improvements to response plans based on lessons learned. The purpose of the respond function is to help your organization determine appropriate next steps to contain and mitigate cybersecurity incidents.
Hi, my name is Ammar. I'm an IT support specialist with the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto. Digital forensics is the process of recovering evidence of illegal or malicious activity from electronic media. As organizations increasingly adopt technology worldwide, cybercriminal activity has also increased. This has resulted in a greater need for digital forensics investigations. These investigations are carried out by IT teams or law enforcement and can be divided into 4 phases according to NIST: collection, examination, analysis, and reporting. Number 1, collection. In this phase, data related to the activity being investigated is identified, labeled, recorded, and acquired, taking care to preserve the integrity of the data while maintaining a strict chain of custody. Number 2, examination. In this phase, the data is carefully examined for any information that might be useful to the investigation. 3, analysis. In this phase, the information gathered in the examination phase is analyzed to address the initial purpose of the investigation, including reconstructing events to help draw conclusions. And number 4, reporting. In this phase, evidence gathered, the forensic tools and procedures used, results of the analysis, and recommendations are reported. As cybercriminal activity has increased, so has the need for digital forensics. However, before embarking on a digital forensic investigation, make sure you understand your area's laws, regulations, and organization's policies.
Hi, my name is Amanda Wagner. I'm a graphic designer for the Information Commons Help Desk with the University of Toronto Libraries. If you've ever tried to log into an account only to discover that it's been locked, you've likely run the gamut of emotions before contacting your local help desk or service provider. One reason your account might be locked is if it appears to be compromised, meaning someone else has gained unauthorized access to it. Here's how that could happen. One indication that your account could be compromised would be multiple logins from different geographic locations over a very short period of time. Another indication would be a login from a known malicious address. If you reuse your passwords, your account could be locked because it appeared in a credential spill, which lists usernames and passwords gained from past breaches. Or your account is sending messages that appear to be spam or exhibiting other suspicious behavior. Accounts end up locked for a variety of reasons. But when it comes to cybersecurity, the main reason your organization or service provider might lock your account is to protect you and your data.
Hi, my name is Jessica Vio. I'm an information management analyst and SharePoint Online administrator with Information Technology Services at the University of Toronto. What is a privacy breach? A privacy breach occurs when personal information is stored and managed in a way that violates your jurisdiction's laws and regulations. This could include anything from an employee accidentally opening the wrong file to a cyber attack that exposes personal information publicly. Although laws differ by region, here's what Ontario's Information Privacy Commissioner recommends to public sector organizations in case of a privacy breach. 1. Immediately alert key staff members, including your Freedom of Information and Privacy Coordinator. 2. Contain the breach by determining what personal information was compromised and put safeguards in place to ensure it doesn't happen again. 3. Work with your FIP coordinator to notify individuals who are affected by the breach directly as soon as possible. You will want to have specifics around what personal information was compromised, what steps were taken, and contact information for someone in your organization who can answer questions. 4. Investigate what happened by analyzing events, reviewing your policies, and identifying potential systemic issues. And 5. Work with your leadership and FIP office if a notification to the Privacy Commissioner is required in case of a significant breach. Before your organization is involved in a privacy breach, ensure you're aware of and understand your region's laws around personal information and privacy.
Hi, my name is Will Campbell, and I'm a digital communications specialist with HR Communications at Change at the University of Toronto. I'm here to speak to you today about incident prioritization in the realm of cybersecurity. As many of you know, we can't always rely on a first-come, first-serve approach to incident response. The first issue we hear about isn't necessarily the most critical. And so today I'm going to share with you 3 factors to bear in mind when you're deciding on the order of importance when you're addressing cybersecurity incidents. And those are 1, the functional impact of the incident, 2, the information impact of the incident, and 3, the recoverability of the incident. So to start off, the functional impact. In most cases, incidents that affect IT systems will impact business functionality to some degree. There will likely be some negative impact on users and their daily operations. The response team should consider not only the current active impact, but also the potential for future impact on operational functions if immediate containment is delayed. So second, the information impact of the incident. This factor speaks to the availability, the confidentiality, and the integrity of the information. It's important that we consider how any compromised data could affect the overall mission of operations and if other organizations might be affected or involved. And third, recoverability. Consider the scale of the incident and what resource impacts it has. What kind of time frame is necessary for a full recovery? Do we need to involve other units or external parties in our response? As we know, certain cybersecurity incidents are not easily recoverable, like the malicious leak of sensitive data. We can't turn back time. This means we just need a broader approach, that different teams might need to be involved in not only the solution, but in prevention and in notification of those affected. So with these 3 factors, we can assign scores from 1 for a low impact to 5 for a high severity. And in this way, we introduce a more objective way of comparing incidents and identifying which ones are the most pressing. Once you've got a good handle on the incidents in front of you and the organizational context as well, you'll be better equipped to establish an escalation process, define a feasible timeframe for response, and to know exactly who to consult to ensure that an incident is responded to properly. So I hope that you find these 3 factors helpful in prioritizing cybersecurity incidents, and I thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Sean Meikle, and I'm the Associate Chief Librarian for Digital Strategies and Technology at the University of Toronto Libraries. I'm here to introduce the 5th and final pillar of the NIST cybersecurity framework, which is the recover function. This function can be divided into 3 areas: recovery planning, improvements, and communications. And here are some examples from each of these areas. Recovery planning can include making sure that our organization's recovery plans are executed in the case of a cybersecurity incident. Recovery improvement can include updating our organization's recovery strategies and plans based on the lessons we've learned. And communication can include making sure that all the stakeholders are kept up to date on recovery activities. So the purpose of the recover function is to make sure that we can return promptly to organizational operations, capabilities, and services after a cybersecurity incident.
Hi, my name is Rose O'Higgins. I'm the Senior Manager for Client Services with Information and Instructional Technology in the Faculty of Arts and Science at the University of Toronto. The question is, what are the benefits of a disaster recovery plan? Well, first off, technology is central to university business and administrative operations. So especially now during the COVID-19 pandemic, where technology has provided many with the ability to work remotely. However, Because of our reliance on technology, we are particularly vulnerable to IT disruptions, which could impact our ability to deliver services to our community. This is where a disaster recovery plan plays a key role by establishing a set of safeguards to ensure critical technology continues to function and remain available in case of a disaster, which could be caused by structural failure or human activity, or natural disasters such as floods, earthquakes, explosions, physical and cyber attacks. A good disaster recovery plan is developed as part of an overall business continuity strategy and covers a range of preventative and corrective protections, including on-site and off-site backups, replication and high availability systems, surge protection, backup generators, firewalls, and anti-malware software. A well-thought-out, implemented, and regularly tested disaster recovery plan will allow your organization to recover quickly from major IT disruptions as a result of human, structural, or natural disasters.
Good morning. My name is Sue McGlashan. I am the Manager of Information Risk for Information Security, ITS, at the University of Toronto. The topic today is about implementing improvements learned from incidents and from risk assessments. We want to reduce the cost of recovery from a data breach if, or rather when, there is a breach of personal information. Recovering from a data breach is expensive. We can mitigate this by security controls, but also by reducing the data available to be breached. Here are some recommendations that will reduce cost, but more importantly, protect individuals' personal information. Complete a privacy impact assessment for every application. Justify why you need each personal information attribute, and do not store any additional attributes. Keep data only as long as it is needed, and document this through a retention policy. Securely delete data according to this policy. Do not keep data around just in case. If the data sits on a vendor's system, ensure your contract requires they provide proof that they have deleted securely data according to your requirements, and demand that proof. Follow up. Revisit old internal and external applications your unit has used in the past, and check data no longer exists. Do not assume the last person responsible did this. As individuals, do not keep shadow copies of institutional information. Such copies increase the likelihood that data will be breached. Overall, the buck stops with us. We are responsible for data under our care and for protecting our users' information. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Jing Fang. I'm the Manager of Security Service Delivery with Information Security at the University of Toronto. Recovery planning plays an important role in enterprise risk management and provides a variety of opportunities, including establishing recovery metrics to develop and improve your organization's resilience when faced with cybersecurity threats. Metrics can help your organization quickly identify areas for improvement, but also need to be carefully considered to ensure they don't hinder recovery. Common metrics include service recovery time, which would be the maximum time it should take to recover service, and the recovery point objective, which would be the longest allowed period of time between backups. NIST Guide for Cybersecurity Event Recovery also lists a few other metrics you may wish to consider, including hardware, software, staffing, legal fees, and other costs. Number of the business disruptions, accurately identified dependencies, and successful recovery attempts, and the percentage of the successful restoration from backup, service achieving uptime objectives, and stakeholders who are satisfied with IT service levels. Choosing the right metric to measure key aspects of the recovery helps to inform and improve the recovery process. However, it is important to choose a metric that, number one, can be improved based on future recovery efforts, and number two, do not hamper recovery due to the amount of the work required to track them.
Hi, my name is Kevin Yang, and I am the business analyst with the project management office at IITS at the University of Toronto Scarborough. A business continuity plan is a set of documented instructions or procedures that prepare your organization during and after a significant disruption. Some of these disruptions may include technologies, systems, or data failures. Just like business continuity plans for natural disasters or pandemics, we also prepare similar plans for cybersecurity-related events. This type of plan should be reviewed on an annual basis and be prepared in collaboration with your team, stakeholders, and others that may be impacted by a disruption in your operations. Some key elements in the business continuity plan should be analysis of threats, impacts, and recovery strategies. A full plan should also include procedures, keep up, backup, and communication plans so that downtime is minimized as much as possible. When was the last time you reviewed your business continuity plans? These plans should be living documents that are tested and adjusted regularly. Practice makes perfect. Taking the time to test and validate your plans will also help you find gaps and learn what can be done differently to minimize the risk and impacts of disruptions.
Hi, I'm Susan Siness. I'm the Executive Director of Strategy at the UTM campus. Communicating in a crisis is critically important, and that is why crisis communications need to be planned in advance before an emergency occurs. It's all about anticipating possible emergency scenarios and proactively planning crisis communications. Managing crises is complicated, multifaceted, and often overwhelming. Emergencies demand response. They involve communicating both internally and externally. Failure to consider the importance of communications and to prepare an effective crisis communications plan will result in chaotic response efforts and promote a lack of confidence in the organization's ability to handle the emergency. In the absence of adequate internal and external communications, operational response will break down, stakeholders will not know what is going on and they'll be confused, even angry. The organization will be perceived as inept at best and even criminally negligent at worst. Resolution time will be extended and the impact will be more severe. Effective crisis communications are vital to inspire confidence, manage the emergency, and importantly, recover from the crisis. An emergency communications plan is a document that provides guidelines, contact information, and procedures for how information should be shared during all phases of a crisis. Well-conceived plans mitigate the damage, they facilitate the tactical response, they provide clear messages and directives, they educate, inform, and even can change behavior and attitudes. They build confidence in the organization's competence. A crisis communication plan can be broken down into 6 elements. A detailed plan that outlines how your organization is going to handle and communicate about the crisis, names of the crisis communication team members and their contact information, key messages written and planned in advance, and internal communications procedures, who is going to communicate what, when, and to whom. And finally, appendices, any support documentation for various crises. In closing, be proactive and plan your crisis communications before you get hit with an emergency. Involve all of the players in your plan and share the plan, and even more important, practice your plan. The devil is in the detail, and a well thought out plan is critical to smooth crisis communications. I wish you good planning.
Wow. Wasn't that great? Thank you for taking the time to attend our first virtual Information Security Conference. This conference was organized by members of the University of Toronto Tri-Campus Security Community, not only to bring awareness to a wide range of cybersecurity issues, but also to showcase the diversity of people and ideas, showing in action that we are better when we work together. Thus, secure together. I'd especially like to thank Selena Panchu and Tamara Jacobs from UofT's Mississauga and Scarborough campuses, respectively, for their leadership and hard work organizing this great event. And thank you to all the members of the UofT community who participated. And thanks again to you. If you haven't already, use this opportunity to reach out to someone new and make a connection. Especially in these challenging times, we really are in this together.